Today's guests are Jeanette Vecchio Smith and Pecho of Chicago Metal Roll Products.
We've kind of set ourselves in the industry as the company that can do the complex geometries and the crazy, outstanding, award-winning projects in the industry.
What we do is art, you know, in that regard, right? It is an art form, right? Even just the basics of engineering, but also what we do further in terms of metal forming and bending.
We can build a cool project that's super successful, and the sphere is one of those. Okay, so there's going to be a giant globe sitting on the street, and there's going to be LED lights all on the outside and the inside, and you can experience it with all 5 senses. Like, that sounds crazy.
I don't know if there's another company out there in the United States that can achieve the throughput that we could for projects of this size.
Stay informed, stay competitive, and stay connected to the industry with the Fabricator magazine. Every issue covers the latest processes, equipment, and best practices in metal fabrication, plus perspectives from people who are solving real problems on the shop floor every day. Join thousands of subscribers and sign up for the Fabricator for free at thefabricator.com.
Hello, welcome to the Fabricator Podcast. Somebody here is celebrating 100th episode anniversary.
Yeah.
That's
no
us.
kazoos.
No kazoos. So we're not going to do introductions because it's 100 times and you should know who we are now.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, right.
Today's guests are Jeanette Vecchio Smith and Pecho of Chicago Metal Roll Products. And this is the first take, believe it or not. And I got all that correct. 100 times will help you become a better podcast host.
You're doing great.
Thank you. So we talk about, we revisit a little bit about the history of Chicago metal, but we get into a little bit more about some of the projects they're working on and some of the kind of interesting things they form.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to hear someone like that talk about all the vast variety of things that they do, just sort of as like, you know, hey, this is the world-class specialty work we do, and you know, we have a good time doing it. I mean, they really are pretty humble about what they do, considering their status in the industry.
Yeah, and the project we kind of honed in on early was the Sphere.
Yeah, some people
Las
might be
Vegas.
aware of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
The big happy face they always show on TV when they're covering sporting events in Vegas.
Yeah, but they've been part of a lot of high visibility projects, the Atlanta Airport and others that are really out there, and people don't even think about all the work that goes into forming all the metal members of something like an airline terminal.
Yeah.
So,
Do you remember how many miles of tube she said that they?
19.
Yeah, for the Sphere. Yeah.
And where did the crane come from that needed to put the topper on the Sphere? What country?
Belgium.
There you go.
Yeah, world's largest crane.
Should we be doing the quiz after the podcast instead of before the podcast? So we haven't figured things out
Let's
after
get it
100
out.
episodes after all.
Yeah.
So
We got to
need
give
work
people
on
enough
that.
to listen to later.
We're sending Gareth back to podcast producing
Yeah.
school.
Yeah. These first 100 episodes, we're just, trying to figure it out.
It was just training. It was training wheels.
200 we'll nail it.
Oh, yeah. 200. And
Well, Sarah from our digital marketing team, she told us that only 7% of podcasts make into 100 episodes. So,
wow.
Wow.
We should be proud of ourselves.
We should, but
Yes.
we're not. But we are.
Right.
No, we're very proud of ourselves.
We are. This is a good operation.
Yeah, and it's a good celebration, especially when Jeanette brings gifts.
Oh my goodness. This is one of the softest hoodies I've ever worn. I really like it. Thank you, Jeanette.
And a nice card, so appreciate them very much.
Yeah. Nice people and great conversation.
Fantastic.
And for 200, we're going to do something even bigger.
Yeah, just wait.
Just wait.
Just wait.
Probably have Chicago Metal back again. Anyway, you don't have to wait 100. You can hear from them right now. Thanks for tuning in.
Looking to take your leadership skills to the next level? Join Manufacturing Leaders February 24th to the 26th in Clearwater Beach, Florida for the FMA annual meeting. At this premier event, you'll connect with top leaders from the fabrication and metals industries to share ideas, collaborate on business challenges, and build strategic relationships. Start 2026 on the right path. Find details and register at fmamfg.org. And now, back to the episode.
Welcome back to the Fabricator Podcast. Thank you, Ken and Jeanette, for joining us today. We're going back a little bit, welcoming a guest on this very special episode. It's official. We got balloons. We have special guests. And Gareth failed to wear a tie, but that's all right.
I got my tuxedo T-shirt on underneath.
There you go.
Just because you're wearing a cool shirt doesn't mean you have to pick on Gareth.
It's a shacket, and we can talk about that in another episode.
Shack.
So, Ken and Jeanette from Chicago Metal Rolled Products. If you don't know who they are, odds are you might know some of the projects the company has been involved with, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. First time we had Chicago Metal Rolled Products, we talked a lot about the history. I don't know if y'all want to give our audience a little bit of a heads up about the history real quick.
Sure. So it's a family-owned and operated company. It started in 1908, and we originally started fabricating gutters and downspouts. We really didn't get into bending and rolling until around 1929. And I think last time we were on the podcast, we spoke about we have a 3x3 machine that we took it off for maintenance, and we saw that it was from 1929. So we've kind of pieced it together, the history there. So that was in the 30s. From there, we kind of got more into the ring business. It wasn't until about the 1980s when Virginia Hoff Went, who's my grandmother, she took over, and we got more into the architectural and structural machines.
The curves and the beams. And
yes. The more of the complicated geometry that Ken can more elaborate on. So from there, I mean, she kind of, today we talk a lot about the CMRP family. She's kind of the one who started it, you know. She knew everybody's name. She knew their spouses, their kids, all of that kind of stuff. Smoked, you know, Viceroys with the shipping guys, made sure all of her orders got out first before anybody else's. So she had a lot of happy customers. But from there, we kind of have moved to today where we are. We have 5 family members working in the business. It's my Uncle Joe's the president. Ginny, my mom, is the vice president. My sister Elise works there. My cousin Christopher, and then obviously Ken is our Italian brother from another mother. So now where we, and Ken can talk to, much to Ken's credit, you know, we've kind of set ourselves in the industry as the company that can do the complex geometries and the crazy, outstanding, award-winning projects in the industry. So we have 2 locations, our headquarters in Chicago, another facility in Kansas City, and I don't know, over 100 machines, and just expanding on our capabilities.
How many people do you have working for you?
We have a little less than 100.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, this rolled metal, whether it's beams or a plate, seeing is kind of believing, right? It comes to life. And we've spoken, at least I have, with Ken for a past story in the Fabricator. So, and not a stranger to folks who read the magazine. Can you give us a little bit of background about you, Ken, and how you ended up at CMRP?
CMRP, yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for having us on, first of all. I out of high school, going into college, I was into art and music, really. That was like my thing, and welding and steel and metal fabrication wasn't even a thought in my mind. I didn't even have any thought about that. Like, didn't really realize that was out there or an opportunity, right? It wasn't until an art class where someone was welding a metal sculpture, right? And so the gears started turning. Wait, where did this welding machine come from? Oh, hey, it came from the engineering department. And literally, I went back to my 2D art class, packed up my stuff, and was like, hey, I'm changing my major. And she's like, I don't think it works like that. You can't just like change the engineering department. So I made it work, long story short, made it work.
Do you have to sing a song or just
just serenaded them a little bit. There was a structure worked out with GPAs and stuff like that. But anyway, so that's where I found my passion. And it was really like a lot of, into the Eastern Illinois' credit, that's where I went to my undergrad. They had a really great program there. CNC machines were on facility, welding machines, manual lathes, milling machines. So I really got my hands dirty with that type of work, and coming out of college, I basically got a job right with Chicago Metal immediately out of college, and never looked back. You know, I furthered my education at Illinois Tech, got my master's degree there. I've been working for Chicago Metal for almost 20 years now, so it's about 19, and recently became lead engineer of the company. So,
can I ask you this real quick?
Sure.
I love the concept of people who've come from fabricating and then go to pursue masters at places where I'm sure other people in the classroom have no idea what metal fabricating is. And like, what was that dynamic kind of rubbing elbows with people not really familiar with your industry or background?
Sure. It was interesting because when I went for my master's, right, they asked me, well, what field do you want to go into? And I really wasn't aware. And I was like, wait, what do you mean? I'm just continuing my education for my undergrad. I'm going into the same thing, engineering, metal fabrication. They're like, oh, okay, you could do anything you want. You could go to MBA or whatever. And I'm just like, nah, to me, that's not a master, right? So I'm in class with these, you're right, with these individuals that are more in like business sense, you know, we're getting into, you know, the high levels of manufacturing, you know, in the not on the shop floor, more so in the office, right?
Sure.
And it was interesting because that background of having hands-on, I say it was really a key point in my education that furthered my career. And you know, the individuals in the class, working with them alongside with them, just giving them insight into like, hey, it's probably beneficial if you're going to go into this field to get your hands dirty a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Would you say that your bent as an artist has influenced how you approach your engineering work?
Absolutely.
How so?
Absolutely. Well, what we do is art, you know, in that regard, right? It is an art form, right? Even just the basics of engineering, but also what we do further in terms of metal forming and bending, right? So I don't know if I would excel as much in a different scenario, but like at the metal bending facility, Chicago Metal, it's just been it just clicks, you know what I mean? So like the curves, the geometry, it's all art, you know, and it all goes back to shapes and breaking that stuff down and lines and segments and stuff. So you can really draw those two together, and you know, it's been a wonderful experience, and I think it's only really furthered us in our development of the company and what we're capable of bringing those two together, you know.
So what was it like early days at Chicago Metal Roll Products? And Jeanette, maybe you can comment on terms of people coming into the organization.
I wasn't born yet
into
when Ken
Oh,
started.
I'm talking about even now.
I'm not a dinosaur. I'm
kidding.
not that old. But I mean, a little
Nice
bit,
to slip that in there.
I started as in estimating. Okay, so it was just really basics, estimating sales, just sitting behind a desk and trying to learn as much as I could, you know, and then eventually sales engineering and stuff like that. And I didn't really know, to tell you the truth, like where I would end up at, but the company really caters to your desire as an individual, and that's the best thing about working for these guys. Not, you know, but it's like they really allow you to just do what you want to do. If you want to take that position and take on that role, you want to find a special project, a special niche, that's something that you're really great at, they're going to allow you to do that. And they really just gave me the freedom to become who I wanted in the industry.
Cool.
So
Ken always, what's that quote that you said? I'm something walking amongst giants.
I just walk amongst giants.
Which is kind of crazy because I don't think Ken realizes that he is a giant now in the industry, which he's very humble in that regard, where he's provided a lot of knowledge, obviously, to our company, but in the industry at large. So it's great to work with him, and you see him stomping around all day, like running back and forth, in and out of the shop. You know, you can learn a lot just from being near him in the office.
Can you explain for the audience, and I think this is a good opportunity for people who may not be yet employed in the industry, but kind of the niche that Chicago Metal Roll Products has working in the structural steel industry, in the sense that I think, Ken, you work with the folks over at the American Institute for Steel Construction, and it's I don't want to call it cohesive, but the relationships that y'all have with business involves not just a customer, but the customer is general contractor, perhaps architect. I don't know if y'all communicate, but it's a little bit of a different kind of working relationship than maybe somebody who's banging out electrical boxes or doing repair work for heavy equipment or something like that.
Well, I think the term there is and what we consistently repeat is we want to be involved early and on that project, right? Mm-hmm. So once the project's conceived, it's designed, it's in the design phase, right? The ownership knows they want to produce it, they're going to proceed with it. When we get in on early on the design phase, that's where it's really like key that we could recommend to the design team, like, hey, you should go one way or the other. You might be presented with some challenges if you go on this way, or maybe could provide some value engineering cost benefits or something like that for them.
Are you talking like the kinds of products, the type of like the materials involved?
The materials involved, right?
Yeah.
So they'll pretty much have like a geometry, like this crazy sculpture,
building.
Right? You're right, exactly. So they'll have a geometry set, and there's like, what can you achieve that with, right? And in the best way possible. Mm-hmm. So it's really getting in on the ground level with the design team about what they're trying to achieve, what the part's used for, what the major concerns are. Is it highly structural? Is it ornamental? Is it architectural, right? And then from there, it's really working with the steel team. And that's what I say is like when we're contracted by a structural steel fabricator, right? We're a team, right? If we don't succeed, you don't succeed. If you don't succeed, we don't succeed. So making sure that the customer, the fabricator, is getting things how they need it, how they want it, so it arrives on their shop floor so that there's no questions, there's no confusion. The parts are checked, they're QC'd. I have a lot of customers that, and this sounds really kind of crazy, but we're known for doing the most insane geometries. We fix a lot of other people's work that they can't do. It's just the name of the game when you have the amount of experience that we have, the years of bending and forming, the knowledge that we have, the type of machinery we have. So you're really just trying to make sure the project goes great. But we get statements from our customers that are like, even the way your trucks are loaded when they come to us is industry standard, right? Because, if you think about it, nothing's straight. You load a truck with straight material, it's pretty easy. Yeah. Now you put a ton of different curves, all different radiuses, different geometries. You're loading it on a truck. How do you do that efficiently and safely? So, even coming down to just the loading in and out, like that is what we're trying to perfect and be industry leaders at.
Well, right. Well, just in the way of making sure that parts aren't deformed in transit.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's another concern too.
Well, in getting in on that, what do you say, like the early, as early as you can in the design stage, does it start to help you conceptualize how best to form the part, even as you're talking with them? Is it?
Yeah, absolutely. We're really trying to identify like what machine are we going to do this on? What steps are we going to take to achieve these geometries? The thing is, like these machines that are made, I think there might be a little bit of a misconception in the industry somewhat from these designers and architects is that like, hey, you could just load a file. It's 2026. You can load a file into this machine, just press this button, and it's just going to come out in this crazy shape, right? Like it's just going to do it all by itself. And it's like, that's not how it is. There are CNC machines out there for bending, but for the structural steel industry, by and large, they're all manual. So if we have a very complex geometry, then we have to think about what steps we're going to take. Sometimes we have to use 3 or 4 different machines to achieve that geometry.
Wow.
And understanding what formations you're going to achieve first and what steps, how you're going to form it, and the right processes is really indicative of how it's going to outcome, right?
Right. Well, you watch a large, heavy 4 or 5 inch thick plate being rolled into a cylinder.
Sure.
The amount of time, the amount of precision it takes, even for a skilled operator to do that well. And you guys are doing even more complex things with more complex shapes. I can't imagine. It must take, does it take you a little time just to say, okay, this is the way to do it, this is not the way to do it?
Yeah, absolutely. There's more than one way to skin a cat, right? Sometimes there's more than one right answer, right? But it's what are we doing to that material too, right? So that's another big thing about bending and forming and rolling is like you could destroy the material. You can mess it up
have
pretty
you ever
bad.
cracked it?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. That just happened the other day.
Super fun.
If you're not
Do
failing,
you
you're not
hear
trying.
it?
Right?
Up, like
No, you can't hear it, but you see it.
oh, there
if,
you go.
If you get it on the right machine and it's the right size member, it'll resonate and you'll hear it. It's like a big dung, and you're like, whoa, it sounds like a bell like cracked or something.
I've heard the thing of armor plate cracking and a break, and it's like
Yeah,
like a
well,
gunshot.
that's
Like,
right. And
Start over.
You kind of hit the nail on the head. There's like, you're depending on the material itself and what it is, what its mechanicals are, the way you approach that forming is going to be drastically different, right?
Yeah.
And kind of getting back to what we were talking about, like destroying the materials, right? So like we want to make sure that the material as it comes in, we're delivering it with the mechanicals that are as close as possible to its original specs, right? We know that we're going to elevate the yields. We're going to decrease the elongations a little bit, right? So that material is going to get a little bit more harder, right? A little more into the tensile phase, but
Work hardening is a way of
exactly it's
way
just
of life for you.
yeah, work hardening is a huge concern. The wonderful thing about structural steel is it has like an area of perfect plasticity where we can work it without it work hardening too much, right? So that's the wonderful thing about structural steel. When you start getting into plates and stuff, for like, the Fabricator does a lot of press brake work. That's where you get into like the materials that are really a concern, where you really have to start understanding the yields. Like, are we getting into the high 100,000s, 160,000 yields, right? So like, what's that going to happen to the plate when we form it, springbacks and stuff like that?
Right.
So
Absolutely. Well, and I would imagine that, with 100+ people or 100-ish people working at your place, I mean, it's a lot of people speaking into what's going on with this particular piece, and so everyone's gonna kind of be on the same page. Like, okay, this is very difficult. This is the specs. I mean, do you find it's difficult sometimes with the really complex pieces to keep everybody on the same page, or is it, you guys have that down?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, we try to control that as much as possible with like preemptive meetings, right?
Okay.
So like, even at the quoting phase, right? We won't quote something like that's largely my responsibility in terms of like assessing capabilities, right? We get tons of phone calls every day from all over the country. Are you guys capable of doing this? Is this possible, right? And so we want to make sure that, one, if we're going to even quote the job, that we can do it, right? We don't want to get ourselves in trouble there. But then as we bring the job in and we get more and more, because the jobs go through so many phases, right? You could do preemptive bids, pre-construction, and then, second round of bidding and stuff, and then the construction drawings are not fully developed, so then they're only 50% you're bidding on it. So, the thing is, things change as projects develop, but we want to make sure that everyone's on the same page. So we have a lot of meetings that, we're the great thing about technology is that, you can do a lot of things with like Zoom meetings and sharing screens and making sure that everyone's on the same page with the models and, what processes have to happen. So there's a lot of that stuff going on to make sure everyone at the company is on the same page of how we're going to process this stuff.
The Power of Meetings.
Yeah.
By Ken Pecho.
Actually, to tell you the truth, it's kind of weird. My wife is in IT, and all she does is meetings. All day. That's all. That's all it is. Literally just meeting after meeting. And I just kind of make fun of it and be like, does anybody do anything, or is it just like meetings planning on what we're gonna do?
Hey, this is work. Meetings are work.
So when you're talking your meetings, like I imagine there's like a mental clock, right? I mean, some of them may go longer. For the most part, it kind of discussion, cover, and out. That I remember speaking with people, the concept of the pre-shift meeting. And like I have, like the first time I'm having this conversation, I'm thinking people are around like a coffee table and maybe there's some donuts, but no, it's like 5 minutes before shift and they're just making some quick points and they're done.
That's it.
Yeah.
And so I mean, right? Yeah, I think
quick stand-up
that
meetings.
could probably be taken to other industries.
Can we try that for our next meeting?
No, because I demand attention.
That's why we do these in person, because if we do them on Zoom, it just feels like a meeting.
Yeah, exactly.
So real quick, I think that the point in talking about this, I think one of the fun things about speaking with companies like yours is that you follow on social media, and there's a lot of examples of the work being done because the work is actually in public places, as opposed to a lot of shops we talk about can't really show what they're working on because of NDAs or customers don't want it kind of shared.
Because it's an F-35 jet.
yeah. Well, sometimes your work's just too big to miss. So great follows on social media. And I think that's one of the other things we wanted to talk about today is some of the projects. And I know, Jeanette, you had spoken with Gareth at the last Fab Tech about the work that was done involving the Sphere out in Vegas. And, that, I don't want to call it like one of the great structures of the 21st century, but it definitely,
I think you're right.
It definitely is like a pop. It's like a pop, like pop culture come to life almost.
Icon,
in a way.
Dan's trying to underplay the Sphere.
Yeah, it comes off like there's a little bit of it's Vegas, right?
Right.
But there's also like this whole thing about like if you go to the Sphere, it is a little bit of an investment. So it's kind of it's in everybody's consciousness, but I'm not sure everybody's gonna ever get a chance to like take it all in and participate in it. But nonetheless, it is it is well known. I'm glad I didn't have to pay the check to kind of build that thing from what I've read. But what was that like the early days, and how does that compare to other projects you work on in terms of scope?
Well, I think a lot at Chicago Metal, we deal with like living in the future a little bit. Ken does, for sure. Even when we're talking now, it's like, okay, well, a customer comes to us with drawings and you're trying to conceptualize this building that doesn't yet exist, right? So it's our opportunity to be like, okay, like what Ken was just saying, what can we do to make sure that we are putting out the best product, so that the customer will be happy, so that we can build a cool project that's super successful. And the Sphere is one of those, like it was very hard when the renderings came in. I'm sure, Ken can talk more about this, but like, okay, so there's going to be a giant globe sitting on the street and there's going to be LED lights all on the outside and the inside, and you can experience it with all 5 senses. Like, that sounds crazy, but now it's here and we can see it. And now they're building another one in, I think, Abu Dhabi.
Maryland.
No, they're building one in Maryland.
Yeah, a smaller one. Yeah, I
there's one
made that
that's-
statement too, and somebody
yeah.
said was well aware of the one in the Middle East.
I think, it's 3 times the size of the
Oh, no
one in Las
kidding.
Vegas.
Wow.
Yes.
Are you involved in that one?
No. And at the engineering company,
just wait a while.
Yeah.
You might get that call.
We can't do this.
Consultant on it, the same engineering company, but they said the building codes are so different that it's hard to
Interesting.
Has to
consult on
weather
it.
sandstorms? No.
I don't know, fire codes.
Yeah.
The heat from the
Oh,
sun. The
yeah.
heat from the sun expands the metals. That was the one big challenge.
Oh.
Well, I mean, if we look, I think the thing with the Sphere was, for me at least, obviously my musical background and my artistic background, I heard about the Sphere before we even got presented it at the company. So I heard about this futuristic, insane, best technology. You could sit in your seat and you could feel the music.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm like, I guarantee Fish is going to play there. I have to get this project.
So that's literally happening now, right?
Yeah, Fish played there the first year that they opened for like 3 days, and now they're playing again. I've missed out on. You're right. The
How
tickets
much are
are
tickets?
over 1,000. They're almost 2,000. Because the thing is, they just scalp them immediately. They just sell
Yeah,
out. And
yeah.
they scalp me.
Oh, you didn't get to go?
No, I haven't gone yet, and I missed out on tickets this time too. So I'm like, maybe they're listening to this podcast, and they're like, "Hey, Ken."
I was lucky to see the Eagles on their 4th breakup tour, the 4th final tour.
The dude who helped kind of build the Sphere wasn't able to get tickets to Fish.
Yeah. Well, you think that they would. It's okay though, but I'll get there someday.
So what kind of like structural pieces did you work? I mean, you see a Sphere. Is it like literally a snow globe of steel girders? And
No, it's complex. What we did is referred to as the trellis support, right? So there's the geosphere, which is very large diameter API pipe that's connected at these nodes that are cast connected. And when you look at those pieces, they're all straight, right? So it's a bunch of triangles in this geosphere, this massive dome. But on top of that, in order for the LEDs to sit, and because they're curved, they had to have a structural support mechanism underneath there. So
to sit on top of
to sit on top of them,
structure
yeah.
of-
So like you have these very large diameter pipes in this straight nodal triangle geodesic sphere, and then over that you have our curved pipes, 7.5-inch OD tubes, heavy wall, that are like going on this like spiral around. So when you like look at it, it's hard to see our pipes now because they're obviously covered by LED screens
On
you know?
both sides, interior and exterior.
Yeah, exterior. Well, we didn't do the interior. The interior was all done through like lattice type of.
Straight.
Yeah, it's all straight segments that they like put together. It's kind of weird how they do it, but I guess because it's so large in diameter, the
So when you're inside, you don't get that spherical feel because the actual stands are very, I mean, kind of slightly tilted and it's very far up. So it's more. It almost feels like egg shaped when you're on interior.
Sure, I would imagine. I've seen videos of it, but it seems like it's just like immersive. Like you're just like, whoa,
Oh yeah, there's a lot of my dad used to yell at me when we'd go to a big city because I'd always have my head up, just looking at the big buildings. Like, you look like a tourist. Put your head down. But that's you walk in there and you just stare like you end up just looking up at the ceiling because the graphics kind of feed in a way.
Yeah,
It's
it's wild. And the tubes that we did, when you start reading it about how important the accuracy was of this building, it's pretty amazing what they achieved, right?
Yeah.
Like for the LED panels on the exterior to not have any gaps between them, like the tolerances of our rolled 7.5-inch OD tubes had to be precise, right? So early in on the design, and when we found out we were getting the work through W&W, we worked with the project manager there, Jeff Jost, and we laid out this method of making sure that our curves were 100% accurate throughout all the pieces. Now, the thing is, because it's a sphere, like the radiuses don't really change, right? But like repeatability, that's what we're talking about, right? And since all this gets stacked on top of each other and put together in these like, puzzle pieces, like you have compounding tolerances then, right?
Tolerance stack up.
Yeah, exactly. So we came up with this plan that, and it's pretty simple in terms of its development, right? We're using dot punches on the weld seam. So we identify a specific place on the pipe. When we're rolling it, we keep the weld seam up straight. So like if you look at polar coordinates and like where the radius would come in would be 0 degrees, like the weld seam was at 90 degrees straight up, right? So we're able to witness it and watch it as we're rolling, right? Well, we calculated the lengths that we needed for the cord and for the rise, the mid-ordinate rise. And so we 3-dot punch the piece in the straight. And then as we roll it, it gets to this geometry and we're able to measure from one dot punch to the other. That's the cord. And from middle of that cord up into the middle dot punch, would that be the mid-ordinate rise?
Yeah.
And so we were able to hold plus or minus an 1/8 to a 3/16 on the mid-ordinate rise for every single piece. And it's crazy because after the building was all put together, we didn't have any rejections. We didn't have any people complaining about anything.
Wow.
how many pieces?
Thousands.
I
Guess
mean,
how many-
unbelievable.
Guess
Wow.
how many miles?
You're asking me to guess?
Yes, we know.
Let's see. I'd say I don't want to be stupid and say like 1,000, but 28.
Any Lincoln?
200.
19 miles.
19.
See, I was-
19.6.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You know what? I'm actually born from England, so I'm used to kilometers. So,
from
is there a lot of well, it's French. Anyway, a lot of repeatability in any of those segments, or is it all unique?
we were able to achieve that through all the thousands of pieces that we rolled. I mean, we're talking about 2 truckloads a week for over a year.
Yeah, but wow, man.
During
But are
COVID.
segments similar in size, or are they all?
Yeah, I mean, well,
big?
some of them varied in size, but most of them were all similar. Because if you look at the way they were constructed, they're all connected through nodal structures, again, cast connects. So the way that they developed it, I mean, it was genius in the way that Severand and cast connects developed all this stuff and how they put it together. So a lot of the stuff was just repeatable over and over and over again. But again, that was the real kicker there is, you could roll 3 different pieces of pipe and while they all have the same numbers that we're rolling them to, because our machines are numerically controlled. They're not computer numerically controlled, but they do have readouts, so we could get them in the right position, in the right place. But it's making sure that as we release the pressures, they may have different yields, different tensils, different
Spring back
elongations.
is spring back.
Yeah, exactly, right? And so like we know that Atlas Tube produced all this pipe, but obviously multiple coils had to be used. I mean, there's just so much material being produced there. So it just really took a team to just be dedicated to this job nonstop. Like the machine just never changed setup. We were just gung ho on this the entire time.
This is one of these questions that would only appear on this podcast. How did you go about like organizing them as they were like being delivered?
Oh,
you know what I mean? With so many. Did you try to kid them?
The whole floor was covered with
It's the
these.
worst. Yeah. Okay. So
Into
Did you
COVID.
number them? Laser mark
Well,
them?
it
Or
wasn't-
not being
okay,
marked?
so, like-
not Post-it notes.
no.
Well,
The-
that'd probably be my
the
approach, but-
material, like, so obviously every piece has a mark number, right? And the materials get delivered in stock lengths, right? So they're like probably
wow.
40, 50 foot, 60 foot pieces, whatever. And we cut them up into smaller pieces and curve them and stuff. But like as the material comes in, they're bundled according to bundle numbers, and that bundle will have a heat, but there could be like 3 or 4 bundles per load. And we're just getting truckload after truckload. So we're just getting pipes stacked up on top of each other. And I'm the one out there with the clipboard being like, okay, where do I find this mark number in this pile of 100 pipes? Go find it. I'm using this mark number or this heat number on this pipe for this mark number. And I mark it in the straight. And so like there's no question about what pipe is used for what mark number and what piece. So that's complete traceability. Obviously needed for a lot of airports and a lot of big projects like that require that. Not something that we love to do, but it's just an inherent part of just taking on that work.
We're talking about the nitty gritty of project management.
Oh, it's terrible. I mean, it's a terrible part, but it's necessary, right?
Yeah.
Because if something ever happened and that part failed or whatever, they need to find out what happened. Was it a part of the mechanicals? Was it a part of the chemistry of the material? If it came down to the material, then then that's you have many other pieces in that building that are probably from the same lot or same heat. Was it something with the rolling process? So complete traceability on a project that's worth over $1 billion.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, you know what I mean?
So when you ship them out, do you have to have that same level of detail?
Absolutely. Everything's tagged, everything's bundled. And again, like I had told you in the beginning of the podcast here, is that, organizing of members on a truck are super important for safety, delivery, but
Accountability.
accountability. But then when we start getting to round and pipe, they don't sit flat. Right, so then you have a danger issue where they want to roll and start rocking, and plus they're already curved, so they're not centered on their point of gravity, and their balance is offset. So it takes a I don't know what the
Takes a Chester.
it takes a Chester, but it takes a community. I don't know what the
village.
Well, yeah.
Speaking for the
Great.
community, I've never seen the movie Final Destination, but I saw the previews, and I'm always passing flatbeds going, it doesn't look like it's moving, but I want to make sure I get around that car.
yeah.
So
Well,
we appreciate the effort put forth.
if it came from CMRP, rest easy. Rest easy. You could drive next to it. You're okay.
So, Jeanette, is this one of the bigger jobs in the company's history in terms of like just the amount of metal that went through?
Ken does a lot of giant jobs like this. You might not know it, but I mean, and to everybody that we work with, we do giant jobs.
Airport.
What?
Atlanta Airport.
Yeah, Atlanta Airport was one of Ken's. I mean, that was probably just as big.
Just as big.
What did
Yeah.
you do there?
Passenger drop off and passenger pickup. They're trellises that were basically, how do I explain this? It's like as you're driving to drop the passenger off at the airport, there's just massive canopy over.
Oh, you've got a picture of that on your website.
Yeah, and the way they designed it is like this, almost like this Fibonacci spiral, right? It's really wild and really cool.
Talking Fibonacci now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, we're getting to the
I
nitty
know
gritty
it's
of
a
geometry,
but I'm not quite sure what the sequence is about.
I couldn't tell
But
the numbers.
yeah, so it's a really, really wild project. But I mean, just as large. I mean, we're talking about the multi-year project, 14-inch pipe, truckloads day in and day out. I mean, that's the type of projects that we really excel at. And because of our size and how many machines we have, our throughput. I mean, I don't want to pat ourselves on the back, but I don't know if there's another company out there in the United States that can achieve the throughput that we could for projects of this size, right? To keep up with that feeding of the fabricator, to keep them eating that metal and keep fabricating it so they could get it out to the job site.
So, I mean, it's funny to use the phrase just in time for like projects of this scope, but obviously you're trying to get it there just as it's about, because you don't want it sitting around because things can happen. Does that tend to be the case?
Yeah, that's a great point. We are a just-in-time facility. That's all we are. We stock very little material, right? And there's strategy due to that too, right? So if you've ever been to a bender roller, the floor space is super important for us because depending on the size of the piece, the length, the geometry, how tight the radius is, the piece has to pass through the machine. So if it's a 60-foot piece, I need 60 foot on one side. I also need 60 foot on the other side, right? So if we have tons of stock eating up all of our floor space, it's prohibitive in terms of our processes.
Sure.
Right? So getting material just in time so that it hits the rolling schedule, hits our floor just before the rolling schedule. We roll it, and then literally the next day it ships out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you keep any stock?
Very little. Very little, just for like small stuff that we produced. For
like rings, I would say.
Yeah.
We stock like inch by eighth, all the way up to like 4-inch angles.
Right.
And that's it. But very little quantities.
That came back from what Jeanette was saying.
When we were rolling ring.
When we came from like basically a ring company, right? And that type of work is super competitive now. The margins are slim, so it's really tough to be able to only do angle rings and stuff. So like our whole thing is like just getting into the nitty gritty of shapes like this, right?
Sure.
Just very organic shapes, right? Which are, flowing shapes, ellipses, helixes, complex geometries. That's
on a building scale. I mean, the amount of value add to something like this is enormous. That you're doing, as you said, months or years of work on something. That must put a lot of burden on you in terms of material procurement and scheduling. I mean, how do you make that work?
Yeah, that's tough. Depending on who our customer is and the size of the project, sometimes the material is procured just directly from the ownership or team, which is the fabricator themselves, right? And they'll piece it to us. But usually these projects are mill direct, right? So they have to be made specifically by the mill. They have a rolling schedule. And this is kind of where our size and our throughput helps, because once the mill makes the material, they want to ship it, right?
Yeah.
They want to ship it and they want to bill it, right? But if a project is a size that is going to take a year to make, then I don't know how many people could take all that material at one time if they have massive storage yards or something like that. So for us to be able to do just in time with the mills and just get them working with our shipping and receiving manager, and basically we're just releasing loads weekly, and so it's a tough thing to work with, to be honest with you, but it's key.
Have you found architects more willing to take on, for lack of a better word, crazy type designs, knowing that there's been success out there with people pushing the envelope and having companies like Chicago Metal come through with some of their requests? Have you created a worse future for yourself?
That's what he's trying to say.
So I think of that sometimes, like, hey, we did this crazy job, and I don't ever want to do that again. And here it is on my desk. Okay, great. I don't know if I think it's just them trying to one up themselves and outdo the other ones, right? So they think it's possible, and then like, oh well, he did that, and well, guess what? Well, and I think
that's how you get a skyline like Chicago, right?
Exactly, and I think we see like trends in the industry in that regard, where someone does something really cool and it's like trend setting, and then all of a sudden like we see that a bunch throughout. And so like what I'll give you an example is like years ago, or we still see them, but like glass railings for staircases, like that, it was huge. Glass railing. Really high polished stainless steel handrails and stuff. But like now what we're seeing is these railing systems that are structural in nature too. So they're basically like 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch by 50 inch tall helically rolled plates that are not only part of the structure for the stringer, but they also create like a handrail guardrail system that fully encloses these helical staircases in these plate structures, right? Which years ago, that was never a thing, right? And now, like one person doing it, like for an example, you look at Edition Hotel in Tampa. I think down there, we did a huge staircase down there, super beautiful.
So is that system, is it parts, or is it one complete roll?
No, it's individual parts that it's just a large weldment, you know what I mean? But again, to that point, compounding tolerances, welding everything together. We're talking
Right.
about complex geometries here. Mid-State Metals did that one. Great fabrication team down there. Worked very well with them. So again, another thing with this is like, how well do you work with your customer to make sure that everyone's on the same page? We get the information that we need so we could develop our geometries correctly, and that when we deliver it, it goes together seamlessly.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you a little bit, but for both of you actually, when it comes to that in-house knowledge of, you talk about we're doing all these pipes over and over again for say something like the Sphere. I mean, how do you go about making sure that the, I guess for lack of a better term, tribal knowledge inside stays flowing from person to person, so that the one guy one person who knows how to do this particular kind of bend well is sharing knowledge in a way that keeps everybody growing and maintaining that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. We have Jeanette was heavily involved in just a new ERP system, which has further helped us and develop our company through the office. But one important thing there is that it's super capable in record keeping, right? So every job that we do, every single tube that we put out to the shop, every beam we put out to the shop, that's in there. And then there's abilities for the operators, because we're super tech savvy now. They have iPads out there in the shop and they can make notes, they could take pictures, right? So we have the ability to really capture that information, recorded on our computers, or our servers in site. And so then anytime that the other job comes up with that same geometry, that same beam, we already have notes about how we're going to process it. If there was some issues with it, what does it look like? A picture's worth 1,000 words. So it's really nice if I could look back and say, hey, so-and-so architect, this is what you want, but I actually have proof of what it's going to look like, and you're not going to like it. And let me show you this picture. And so then you could try to kind of guide them in that way. But yeah, keeping that information is insanely important. And obviously with the technology and bringing, our computer systems and everything up to speed is, it's long past the days of handwritten notes, which we still have. We got guys that are, been there for,
you've been there for 20 years.
Yeah,
30 plus years, 40
exactly,
years.
or something. And they're bringing out their notes from like
before you were born, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Before Jeanette was born. But yeah, it's, we still have handwritten documents that we look back at and we're like, wow, okay. And here we are then. Let's scan this in the computer. Let's make sure that this is on our servers and this is, updated so that,
A lot of operators walking around with little spiral
notebooks. They do have their notebooks. We call them their Bibles.
Well, that's their black books, right?
Yeah.
Because that's their job security. I
Yeah.
guess
Oh,
you could
yeah.
say it, right?
Yeah.
Well, how was the implementation of that ERP system, if I can ask?
It was great.
Yes? It's great.
Highly
She
recommend.
says,
Would
says
do
with
it
a
again.
wink.
It was
Yeah.
years ago, and it actually went. Our consultant that we had on the job, that was his last job he was doing, he said it was the most seamless ERP transition that he's ever seen. So it went well. But I have a point on our team here and like the knowledge. We have a bunch of different skill levels in our office. So like, let's say Ken's good at something else. There's somebody else in our office who excels at like a different type of job. Andy takes a lot of these like stadium, university, big tees type of thing. So it's really cool to see everybody in the office and in the shop kind of communicate and work together. Like Ken sits next to Carlos, who's been there a couple years.
Yeah, new
And
young engineer.
He just did some CAD work for me the other day, and I was like, whoa, you can do this so well. So the skill levels are very different. Obviously, Ken knows a lot more in other sectors, but Carlos like excels in CAD. So it's a really cool combination to see all of us working together to make, a project successful.
That's cool.
Yeah. What's your favorite projects that you've been a part of?
I think right now I was thinking.
I love all my children equally.
I only have one child, so I love him the most.
There you go.
Yesterday we were talking about Christopher has a job in the Bahamas. Oh, and you did the port.
Oh yeah, okay.
So
yeah,
the Royal Caribbean
They made their own
cruise
island or
line.
something.
Yes, they purchased an island in the Bahamas.
Of course they did.
And then they created this really cool bar, 2-story bar on the island. And it was, I think, like 8 by 6 by ½ inch square tube and 8-inch pipe, Sketch 80, I think. And it was a lot of it was multi-radial. And we were like, oh, this is so sick. And then they covered the whole entire thing with wood cladding. So like you can't see any of the curved
looks like
steel
a hut.
now,
It looks
but
like
it
a
looks
hut.
it looked really cool when they were fabricating it.
Yeah.
But it just
That's
opened
funny.
and we're like, oh,
We got all this excess lumber from all those cheeseburger
Yeah.
and paradises that closed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but to add to that, we're just finishing up with Royal Caribbean cruise ship headquarters in Miami.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the building is so cool. We got it through a great customer of ours, George's Welding, down there in Miami, and
Covering that with wood too.
No.
You got to look this building up. It's amazing. The roof structure is like flowing and sweeping. The building like takes a curve itself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the parking garage is like a mini me of the actual headquarters building. It's a really awesome project to be involved in. One of my favorites. It's not realized yet, but obviously the Sphere.
It's in the future.
Yeah, exactly. Always looking towards the future.
Yeah.
The Sphere was an awesome project. I'll never ever live that one down. If they're going to make another one in Maryland, right?
Yeah,
Which is
they-
National Bay, right, or something.
So
I
a
think.
little
MGM.
smaller, they said, but I'm not sure how much.
Which
I
is
don't know what that
interesting
means.
because MGM National Harbor is the casino that they're going to build next to, and we did that building too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's kind of all coming together, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
We see,
Are you needed on site for a lot of these projects?
no, that's the one thing is a lot of the stuff. The only time I ever go on a site is if there's an issue.
Oh,
right?
bad
So,
news. then.
Yeah, exactly. Or
So
if
we're
they-
never on site.
Yeah, exactly.
No
exactly.
ticket is the ticket.
Right, but I mean, there have been some like requests of like walkthroughs of job site
Sure.
walkthroughs and stuff. If that's required, then yeah. But I mean, largely, yeah, there it is. Largely, if
Oh,
we
wow.
yeah, look how cool that building is, man. The roof and like
like
I mean,
a
it
how,
literally looks like
how
a ship.
every floor like kind of comes in a little bit.
Yeah,
It's really cool.
I don't see the water slide. Where's the water?
that's pretty amazing. What would you suggest to someone, and maybe it's not even fabricating, just interested in getting into this type of business where, you know, I think one of the things that's kind of exciting about fabricating in general is just the variety that comes through shops, right? And your path is you kind of found it. And I think sometimes that might be the advice is just to kind of, you know, find somebody, talk to them, learn about it, and see if there's opportunity. Would you have any advice for somebody that might be interested in what you do?
Yeah, that's well, first you got to be aware of it, and I guess that was my problem when I was younger. I just didn't really have that mindset of like, oh, people are out there building buildings from structural steel, and like
Right.
we need
Right.
welders and fabricators. And
Right.
once that clicked, it's like, then once I had the machinery in my hands, and I was like, wait, okay, we could mill metal, we could turn it on a lathe, we could weld. This is really cool, and that awe, that excitement for me really was what pushed me to want to do this. And like I say to people, I'm doing the job that I've always wanted to do, which is weird because when I was in high school, I didn't realize what I wanted to do, but now I'm like, yeah, I'm where I was meant to be. So really getting your hands dirty, I guess, you know, go out there and find out what's out there. And if you have an uncle who's a iron worker, pull him aside, ask him some questions, you know what I mean? Like that's one thing I think we don't get enough of is, you know, even the people that are closest to us, we don't really know what they do a lot of the time. So yeah, trying to get it on the ground on that, and ask as many questions as you can, you know, get your hands dirty.
Jeanette, what type of folks do you like seeing come into Chicago Metal?
Honestly, anybody who's passionate and hardworking. We really don't have a lot of structure around, like for the shop, for example, like no experience is necessary. We would teach them anything, you know, as long as they're passionate and excited about it and want to come to work every day, then, you know, we'll teach them how to do this stuff.
Right.
We hear that a lot. The
Yeah.
teachability and the willingness to learn and work hard is probably going to get you farther than even a 4-year degree in some cases, right? Because you're going to have that kind of workability with people who know what they're doing, been there for 20 plus years. But yeah, we hear that a lot because people are willing to, just because someone's willing to come in the door doesn't mean they're willing to stay. And it's like
right.
that.
We see that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I say is like, does he show up to work every day? If he shows up to work every day, let's put some attention into him and make sure that he's got the skills he needs to develop and learn, right?
Yeah.
Because showing up is half the battle, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we see a lot is once they get into this type of work, they find out how difficult it is, how dirty it is, you know, how sometimes uncomfortable it is, and they don't want to do that. So if you want to show up to work and you're willing to put a hard day's work in, you're going to make a good living on this type of work, and you know you'll have a job. Job security's there for sure.
Yeah. Do you feel like Chicago Metal is in a position where it's difficult for other shops to achieve kind of the same results based on A, years of experience doing what other people can't do, and B, the equipment mix? Because the reason I ask that question is that whereas plate rolling I still think is kind of a science, you know, beam rolling or, you know, all that forming, you know, you're seeing more sophisticated machines doing cylindrical stuff pretty with good repeatability from everything I've read in the Fabricator. But you know, is the technology is making life easier for a lot of people, but yet some things aren't yet, or will it ever be that way?
Sure. Well, in terms of who we are versus the industry and our competitors, friendly competitors, and what makes us different, yeah, we have the 100 years, right? We have the experience there. But largely, I think that we have a company that's invested long-term into this, right? Where, and this is kind of weird to say, but like when I started, there was companies out there that I was like, man, they're going to be around forever and they're never going to change. I'm always going to see this guy every single time I go to this. And within the last year, maybe private investment company came, bought them up, they sold. They don't have an heir to their company, so they don't know where they're going in the future. But we have ownership and management that is invested long-term, generational, and the capital too. I mean, that's huge because this machinery is not cheap, right?
Right.
And when we start looking at, and at least the way I look at the future of the company, right? What is out there in terms of the industry? What are we going to address? What's the need out there that we can address, right? What's the trend? And for me, it's bigger and better, right? We see jumbo tubes being brought on site, on shore here by Atlas, right? We see a lot of geometries that are becoming specified, more challenging geometries out of larger sections, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there's machines out there that are made, but by and large, to address these futuristic issues that we're going to see with these larger members, the machinery really has to be customized to what we're doing, right? And so that's really where Chicago Metal, in my personal opinion, you know, sets us apart, is that we're heavily involved in the machinery that we procure, we buy. We work hand in hand with our manufacturers to make sure that the machinery that we use is going to be strong enough, big enough, bad enough to be able to do not only what we have now, what we see now, but what we see into the future, right?
Yeah. I mean, right now you've got a couple of big things going on at least. We have the data centers. You also have this desire to take care of the housing situation in our country. And so does that play into the kind of clientele that you're looking at?
Oh, that's a good point. Data centers in that regard, not a ton. We see a lot of cambering beams and stuff, which is not really anything terrible for us, right? We have the biggest beam bender in the entire world. So like if there's a beam out there that can be cambered by this machine, we can do it, right? So it's really the stadiums. It's really these sphere projects that we see that are going to be, you know, the icons of the future.
The specialty
right?
projects.
The specialty projects, right?
Yeah.
That they're so massive that they can only use a 22-inch square tube or, you know, a W40-inch beam, or, you know, these venues that have helical staircases in them that require 20 by 12 tubes. And so that's the type of the thing that we're looking to address, because as of right now, there are a handful of very large benders out there, but by and large, they're really dedicated to oil gas pipeline work
I see.
type of stuff. You know
Right,
what I mean? So
Not your niche.
yeah, where we're at is in the structural steel industry, right?
So if you were delivering structural members to a future Chicago Bears stadium, would you be delivering to Indiana or Illinois?
Oh, wow.
100% Illinois.
Are we done? We got to wrap this up.
100% Illinois.
All right.
In Chicago.
Always with the hard-hitting questions. Thank you for being
Thank
you.
very good with those. Gareth, you want to add anything?
I read that to build the sphere, they had to bring in a crane from Belgium, and it was the world's largest crane.
I think that had to do with, I might butcher this name, the Oculus, I think they call it, which is the very top part, which was a single lift, and it was like basically like
That compression ring.
Yeah, the compression,
Yeah.
giant compression ring on top. That basically, as they built the structure, so you got to imagine they're building it layer by layer. So like this sphere is just sitting open, and as they close it up, they have to have the ring on top. So it was a massive lift, and I believe that's what you're talking about.
We should literally do a year-end quiz, and that can be one of the questions. You need to start writing these down. Where was the giant crane used to put the capper on the sphere? What country?
This is why we transcribe all the episodes. I don't have to write anything down.
There's no point if you're not taking notes, because then
I
you
do
look at
take
me when I
notes, but
ask
I
about
can't
the
read my
idea. You're like,
handwriting.
yeah, that's a great idea, and we just stare at each other for 5 minutes because no one wants to do it.
Well, it might come in handy for the trivia night up at Pizza Pub.
Yeah, a lot of readers of the Fabricator hang out at a local pizza joint. Well, thanks so much.
Congratulations on your 100th episode.
Yeah,
All right,
this is
Thank you for
awesome.
being here
Yes.
for it.
I'm honored that
I am
that
sad we don't have
you
cake to
had us
share
here.
for you right now.
Me too.
Did we go to everything? Bunt cake?
We have balloons.
We do. I did see that outside.
You can't eat a balloon.
Well, that's correct. On that note, we leave you with good advice. Don't eat Milo or balloons.
No, we were happy to have you guys for the 100th episode. It was important to have you guys back for talk about this thing. And
Yeah. I mean, you're always going to have something new to talk about. So
I'm sure Jeanette, the first time you came, we're like, there's no way they're going to do 100 episodes.
Here we are.
We were talking about like how like confined the previous space was, and it was like a sauna in there, and
Yeah,
it was
what,
not
was
sustainable.
that's what Jeanette said. I was like, I think I'm gonna wear a shirt and look nice, and she's like, it's a hot box in there. I was like, all right.
not
Very perfect
sustainable.
temperature today.
We've done our best to mitigate that.
You guys have a great studio here. I was really
like
impressed
it.
when I came in. So.
Yeah, we had them drive in on the coldest day of the year. It's like
Yeah.
negative
Yeah.
14 degrees outside right now.
I think it was -9, but
Yeah. Well,
We're here.
Wind
But we're
chills.
not going to
Wind
split
chills.
hairs here. That's
Wind
fine.
chills.
yeah. It's literally one of those days like, yeah, the Midwest. I see why people are tired of Florida.
it says negative 11 right now, so we can
All right.
split it.
Well, I've been inside for 2 hours. It could have changed. Anyway, wow. Like
Thank
an
you.
old married bickering couple.
It's not negative lemon.
Thanks for joining us today. If you have any questions or want to learn about Chicago Metal, where can they find out more info?
Go to our website, cmrp.com,
That's
or
easy.
call us,
773.
773.
523-5757.
That was almost like the
Ta-da!
Empire Carpet number.
That was our commercial.
588-2300.
I've got to roll out a beam.
I think we're close to having a jingle.
Let's harmonize.
Do you want to try
No,
one more time?
no.
All right, okay. If you have any questions, complaints, or criticisms,
General comments?
general comments, send them to podcast@fmamfg.org. Yes, after 100 episodes, I can get that out quickly now without stammering. And please refer us to your friends, family, and that's it. Thank you for attending today's meeting.
The Fabricator Podcast is a production of Fabricators and Manufacturers Association, located in Elgin, Illinois. The show is hosted by Dan Davis and the staff of FMA Communications. The podcast is produced by Gareth Slager and recorded and edited by Griffin Hammond and Dana Weicker. Sales support provided by Andy Flando. Additional production support by Elizabeth Gavin, Mike Owens, Billy Kolpa, Pat Simon, Brandon Geyer, and me, Sarah Spring. Email us at podcast@fmamfg.org. Thank you for listening.
You guys have too much fun here.